On this day that we honor the men and women who have served this country, paid the ultimate price, we also are pausing today and we honor them. We're also pausing today to help remind you that we have lost more Americans to gun violence in the United States of America than we have in all military conflicts combined. And the numbers keep growing. My guest on Sisters of Wellness, Marnie Wiz, she is with Moms Demand Action. Faye Williams, who is with Mama's Club. These ladies are going to be informing us about some events that are going to be taking place in our community and in communities across the country as we are bringing more and more attention to the challenge, to the problems of gun violence in the United States of America. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome to another episode of Sisters of Wellness, where it is our desire to inform and inspire and live out that scripture in Titus, where we have been instructed to teach each other. And I have some magnificent guests tonight who have such a passion and a drive to save lives, to inform people across their community and across the country, representing Moms Demand Action, an organization that was started by a woman who lost her child to gun violence. Marnie Wiz, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Pamela. It's good to be here.
And Faye Williams, a community activist who continues to work across the line of many issues to bring awareness, to inform, to inspire those across our community when it comes to making our community a better place through all facets of involvement. Ms. Faye Williams, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Pamela.
We cannot help but feel the pain that the families that make the headlines, the shooting in Texas, the shooting that took place in Buffalo. But the reality is, every night in the United States of America, we lose 110 people to gun violence in America. That's close to over 40,000 a year, with another 85,000 people being injured. Ladies, I just want to start by asking you, as you all watch the news and you're doing all of this work to work with legislators, to work with community leaders, as you continue to hear story after story, what keeps you going?
That's a really good question. And I will say that we've gotten used to these kinds of stories in this country, unfortunately. And it takes something like Buffalo or Uvalde to remind us of the horror we're living with every single day. And this week was a hard week for those of us who have been in the, I don't want to use a war metaphor, but it's Memorial Day. So in the trenches of this for years. How we keep going is that we are passionate about what we're doing. We know that there are common sense, evidence-based solutions to gun violence in this country. And gun violence is so intersectional, actually, that the solutions to gun violence are often involve solutions to a lot of our other, the worst problems in our society. So it feels really important, and it feels really difficult to step out, even though weeks like this week gave all of us pause. Personally, I felt a lot of rage, and I took a day or two to feel that, and then jumped back in with more energy than before, because every day we don't get to where we need to go, it's 110 more lives. Plus all of the families and communities through which the effects of that life taken ripple.
Miss Faye, what keeps you going?
What keeps me going? Well, let me just start out by saying thank you so much, Pamela, for having us on your show. It means a lot to have this kind of publicity. So thank you. You do it every week, and we really appreciate you for being present. And I also want to thank Moms Demand Action, especially Marnie, because Marnie has it going on. Sometimes she gets a little down, but I always try to pump her up and let her know that we got this. You asked me what keeps me going. It's part of my history, part of our history. We've been struggling ever since we've been enslaved in this country. And we were enslaved in a violent country, so why expect anything different? This country was founded on violence, gun violence, So it's part of the history. And when you know your history, you never give up. You just continue to move forward. And so that's why I keep struggling, because I know my history.
Yeah, to say that we live in a country that was founded on gun violence. So, as you all are preparing to observe National Gun Violence Awareness Day, June 3rd through the 5th, and you're going to be wearing orange, and people wear orange for a very special reason. Would one of you like to tell our audience why?
Marnie?
Okay. I want to first reciprocate. I don't think that I have learned more from anyone in my life than I have from Faye Williams. So I am, and she does often keep me going. So I appreciate her words very much. Wear orange. We wear orange to honor the survivors of gun violence and to demand action in their honor to create a future free from gun violence. And this particular orange has been a color signifying the value of human life for a long time. Hunters wear orange when they're in the woods to signify that they're there to protect themselves against gun violence, actually. So in 2013, a 15-year-old girl from Chicago named Hadia Pendleton went to Washington, D.C. and marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade. And a week later, this beautiful girl full of promise, sorry, this is a hard, went back to Chicago and was shot and killed. I haven't had to say this out loud. I've only been reading it. Sorry.
That's okay.
That's why I
Yes,
gave
this
it
is
to Marnie,
why we-
because I didn't want
yes.
to cry either, but it hurts, even
Hurts.
thinking about 2013,
Yep.
that she went to the president's house. The next weekend, she was shot in the park with her friends, and her favorite color was orange. And so her friends decided to honor her by wearing We Wear Orange. So that's how it came through.
It began on the official Wear Orange commemoration began on what would have been Hadia Pendleton's 18th birthday, June 2nd in 2015.
So there are Wear Orange events across the United States. And so we are, the crawl at the bottom of the screen. If you want to know where there is a Wear Orange event in your community, you can go to www.wearorange.org and put in your zip code, and it will let you know where there are events in your community. It's really hard. And I'm not, we are still dealing with a virus, COVID. And then in 2021 was the worst year. We were dealing with COVID, and we had the worst year for gun violence in the United States in 2021. Do you all think that legislators are just not listening and just don't care? What is going on in this country? Is this, we say about COVID that this is the new normal. Is gun violence Because I remember the first time I heard the statistic that 100 people are killed every year in the United States, every night in the United States due to gun violence. Now we're up to 110 every
Mhm.
night. Is this the new normal?
Well, when I started with Moms Demand Action right after Parkland, it was 95 a day. It very quickly went up to 100, and now we're at 110. And it's interesting that you bring up COVID because during the pandemic, gun violence has spiked all over the country. They're related. It's many of the Black and brown communities, for instance,
Mhm.
are impacted disproportionately by gun violence. They're also impacted disproportionately by COVID. Both of this, they feed on each other. It's the history that Faye Williams right here just talked about, the history of white supremacy, the history of racism, the history of gun violence in this country all come together at times of crisis like this and become much worse. One of the big issues has been that theft of guns from cars. People who perhaps have a permit, perhaps don't, to carry a gun, stick it in their glove compartment, leave their car. Someone has been watching them because they look for this, steal the gun. Now you have another gun on the illegal market for gun sales. That has spiked during COVID as well. People are stuck inside. People didn't have work. People were economically challenged. All of these things add up to more gun violence, more intimate partner violence, all sorts of things. And I have now talked so much that I have forgotten the question. Is this the new normal? Was
Yeah,
your question?
is this the new normal? Because as you said, you started out, it was 95 a night, every night.
Every
And
24
what did you
hours.
say? Every
You
24 hours.
Yes, you
Faith?
did ask Pamela, were the legislators listening to us?
Ugh.
You know, and I say yes, yes, yes. They are listening to us, but they are also listening to the lobbyists.
Yes.
You know, not only listening with the lobbyists because they get paid by the lobbyists. We know this. So we are having an impact, but not just much impact on the legislators because the lobbyist has the most power and the most money. And so that influence on our legislators comes from the lobbyists. The corporate, the PAC money, all of that is impacting our efforts. But still, that's always been the case, and we will never give up. We will keep struggling. We will bring more people, and more things are happening even today. With all the shooting, that's bringing more members into Moms Demand Action. And I'm so proud of Moms Demand Action because they were there at the White House confronting them. So we will not give up.
Can I add on to
Sure.
what Faye just said? So the NRA, which is the primary gun lobby, is essentially the Association for Gun Manufacturers, right? Gun manufacturers make more money, the NRA makes more money.
That's right.
So their interest is entirely in promoting the sale and use of guns. What I will say is that the NRA is not as strong as they used to be.
That's right.
They've
That's
had
right.
legal difficulties. They've had
right.
financial difficulties.
That's right.
Unsurprisingly, there's lots of corruption. People
Yeah.
are starting to see that the emperor has no clothes.
That's right. And it was, and we need to note, it was a Black woman who led that charge. It
Yes,
was a Black woman from New York. I
absolutely.
can't think of her name.
I've
But
lost
she
her name
led the
too.
charge to make
Yep.
sure that they stopped. And I
Yep.
forget her name, but it was a Black woman.
The
who was
Attorney
leader
General,
on that.
right?
The
In
Attorney
New
General.
York.
That's right.
So the legislators, I want to point out one more thing, which is that it can be easy to think that we're not making progress. But when I listen to the conversation now versus the conversation after, say, Parkland, the legislators are using our language now to talk about it.
Yes.
They're talking about common sense gun reform. They're talking about background checks. They're talking about red flag laws. The more people, we had 10,000 people asked to join Moms Demand Action in Florida in the last week.
Wow.
That's 10,000 people who will now have a new language, a new way of talking about this problem, will become aware of all of the different ways this is such a multifaceted problem with multifaceted solutions, not all of which rely on our legislators at the federal or state level. So sorry, I'm getting a little wound up because the truth is we've made a lot of progress. It's just that it's never enough progress because every day we're losing more people. People are taken from us.
Yeah.
But we can't stop because we're making progress.
Yeah,
And as
but
you said,
it comes back to Biden. He needs to make a change. He needs to control gun control legislation. He needs to put the bill out there and he needs to pass it. It comes back to our president. And I'm angry at our president because there's much more that he could be doing right now, today.
Valerie says, great job, Miss Faye and Marnie. Thank you for watching, Valerie. And Miss Maureen Henry in Mississippi says politicians are not personally affected. Their children and grandchildren are protected.
Can I jump in on that real quick?
Sure.
I want to say that they may think they're protected, but when we have more guns than people in this country, which we are far past that, we have 400 million guns in this country, nobody is protected. Nobody is protected. It can strike anytime, anywhere, and anybody. So they may think they're protected, but they are not protected.
And you wonder sometimes, do they even care? How, when we, of course, we thought that Sandy Hook, I did. We, as Miss Williams pointed out, gun violence and Black people being killed has been a part of American history via lynchings and burnings and just straight out shooting. But when little white babies get killed and a white woman legislator gets shot, I was like, well, this is over. They're going to come to their senses. And you just wonder who is important to them. If not the children that look like them, if not their fellow legislators, are we that far gone? Have we just truly sold our souls to the devil?
Yeah, it's a psychological problem as well. That's why these young white men are responding that way. It's a psychological action happening within them, and no one is paying attention to the white men. But that's a whole nother discussion. I know we're near the end, but I'm not going to stop until I invite Pamela to come over and read that poem for us over in Porter's Quarters. So hopefully she'll be available on that day. That's on June 4th at 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock over at Porter's Quarters Community Center. So I'm inviting everybody, but I really want Pamela to come and be part of what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So, I do want to say thank you very much, Miss Faye, and I'd be honored to come and read B. Richardson's A Black Woman Speaks. But the events that are going to be taking place, they're starting on June 3rd, and they're all across the country. Just go to this website and find out where the event is in your community. There are events in Gainesville, Florida, in Alachua, as well as other communities around the whole state of Florida. And I can only imagine how massive this is going to be this year across the country, with people wearing orange in honor of this young lady who marched in President Obama's parade and 1 week later was gunned down in her community. When these things are happening, are there times, I think about this, how are you all feeling on the front lines of this? Because you don't know where it's going to strike. Marnie?
It depends on the moment, but yeah, as I said, this week was perhaps the most rage I've ever felt. I think it was having Buffalo followed by Uvalde. I think it's because I now know enough to know that it just does not have to be this way. It's not hard even to make it not be this way anymore. And the fact that you had asked earlier, what are these legislators thinking? Honestly, I don't know. And I keep thinking if only I could find the right words, I could explain to them what they're doing. But obviously they know what they're doing.
They know.
And they don't care. And at this point, I think my primary feeling is rage. My second feeling is deep bonding with the activists I've been working with on this for so long, because it's a journey to do this kind of work. You meet incredible people, you hear incredible grief, and you see people turn that grief into the most powerful action you can imagine. And if you come to these events, you will hear some of those people doing just that, some of the survivors. And so I guess I'm feeling rage and deep love all at the same time right now. But also, when I see 10,000 people signing up, and I know that I signed up during a time like this where I was feeling so hopeless, it gives me a lot of hope, strangely, which is not something I expected. So.
Yeah, I'm a community survivor, meaning that no one in my family has been shot, as far as I know. But I'm a community survivor. That means a lot of people see the gunshots, hear the stories, attend the funerals, be part of it. But we don't know how to let out our trauma. And one of the reasons to let out the trauma is to come around people who experience the same thing as you, to make it happen the right way, because we can go home and we can cry it out and we'll get depressed and we'll do other things. But if you're a community survivor, you know you have to come to the community and let it come out. And then we embrace each other, and then we talk to each other, and then we hug each other. And at the end, it slowly moves out. It's part of grieving. But when you hold all this violence and this gunshots inside of you, it creates additional problems, mental health problems, substance abuse, Overeaters Anonymous. I'm dealing with that now, overeating. So, you have to find a way to really just let it come out. So I'm encouraging people again to please just come out to our event, all events if you can, but certainly you don't want to miss Pamela Marshall over at Porter's Community Center.
Well,
I also want to make a plug for those who are in High Springs or Alachua.
That's
This
right.
is the first time that the city of Alachua has had a Wear Orange event, or as far as I know, a public event educating and promoting action around gun violence. And I have
That's
to say
right.
that
Valerie.
the volunteers,
Yeah.
the Valerie and Deetra who are organizing it
Valerie.
are something else.
Yes,
they might rival
Yeah.
Faye Williams here
Yeah.
on their energy level. I don't know yet, but
Yeah.
they are something else. So I hope people will go and check out the amazing event they have put together, the two events.
Yeah, I met new friends, and hopefully they're Black women. So I'm hoping that we have more Black women joining Moms Demand Action. So that's what it's about.
Let me just
Cross-cultural.
Yeah. We're talking about what's happening right now, but this is also about future generations. My little grandson, who's about to turn 4 years old, statistically, he may not make it because of gun violence. And Miss Maureen Henry, please say hello to BJ. That Beanie says hello. That's his great grandmother that he's with. When we, um, you know, how do we get younger and younger people involved? Because I also think that at some point, the entertainment industry must be addressed. It's not just the legislators, because if the legislators did all that we wanted them to do, then children are sitting home practicing killing by playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a statistic about how many murders a child will see by the time he or she is 18 years old just by watching television or going to the movies. Killing in America is a form of entertainment. Is there anything on the agenda to address this challenge? I never bought a gun for my son. I'm not going to buy a gun for my grandson. We call ourselves Christians. There's a fifth commandment that says, Thou shalt not kill. So it's more than just that. Is that part of Mom's Demand Action agenda, to look at these forms of entertainment? How do we make moms aware of, we have to do something regardless of what legislators do? We're still buying the guns.
So-
We're still buying the video games. We're still allowing children to watch what they watch.
Right. Moms Demand Action is about changing the culture of gun violence in this country, and that will encompass a lot of different facets. They are very evidence-based. If you go to a site called everytownresearch.org, you can find all kinds of amazing research on the disparity in gun violence, on gun violence in schools, on and on and on. I don't personally, this is not my area of expertise. I don't personally know of reliable studies that have proven a connection between video games or toy guns and actual gun violence. That's not to say that there isn't a connection or there isn't a study. There is. That particular has not yet been a focus of Moms Demand Action's work.
Gotcha.
I'm sure that if it becomes
I need to join so I can put it on the
Yes.
agenda.
Yeah.
Because
Monty,
they
can you
use
talk a-
video
Please.
games to
Please
teach
do.
military people how to shoot. And it plays on the psyche.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, BJ.
Yes.
Miss Henry says that BJ is watching. Can everybody say hello to BJ? He's about to be 4 years old. It's my little grandson. And we're doing this because we want a safe world for BJ to grow up in.
Good.
And other little
Absolutely.
BJs across
Hello,
the
BJ.
Monty, can you talk a little bit about the background checks? Background checks.
Sure.
Number 2.
Sure.
Mhm.
So one of the simplest and actually most popular things that our senators could do right now, because the House has already done it, it's just stalled in the Senate, is to pass a background check requirement on every gun sale. And that is simply common sense. I have spoken to people who own AR-15s who believe that everybody who purchases a gun should have a background check. So one thing we can all do is pressure our senators to pass a bill that more than 80% of all people in this country, including Republicans and gun owners and NRA members, believe we should have. Right now, people can go online to internet marketplaces and buy a gun from an unlicensed seller without any background check. So though they might be prohibited by law from owning that gun or buying that gun, there's no way to check. So that is one of the, it is mind-boggling that we have not passed that in this country yet. It's because everybody would be happy except for the NRA. So I guess that tells you something right there.
Yeah, it tells you a lot.
Yeah, and as you all are becoming stronger and the numbers are increasing, Ms. Henry says that they should be concerned about voters and the block of people that join Moms Demand Action and other community groups. These are voters. So
These are
you have an
voters.
opportunity.
These are Democratic and Republican voters.
Right, across the board.
Yes.
Didra says that various forms of entertainment has caused our young people to become desensitized when it comes to violence. So you know what? As we're looking at this and as we are waiting for legislators, then I think it's incumbent upon everybody in their own household. What's going on in your household? What is going on in your household when it comes to guns? And I know there are people who say it's my Second Amendment right, but the whole thing says in order to maintain a militia, if there's a war,
well-regulated
militia.
Yes.
We're not in a well-regulated anything. And even as we are about to end this show, there are going to be 110 people in the United States of America killed tonight. We won't hear the stories because if it's not more than 4 people at one time, so if 3 people get shot, that's not a news story.
Yes.
If 4 people get shot, it's a mass shooting. More than 4 is a mass shooting.
I think
So
4 or more, yes.
110 are going to be killed tonight. And I pray it's nobody that you know.
Mhm.
But there are families that are hurting, that are grieving. And we are at war and we don't even know who the enemy is. What do we do at home? Ladies, what do you say to parents, to people who have guns?
Do you mind if I jump in here, Faye, on this
Jump.
one again?
Do it. Do it.
So one of the most important things that Moms Demand Action does is a program called Be Smart for Kids. This might save more lives than anything else we do. It is a program that teaches gun owners, about their secure storage for their guns, because gun owners tend to think that their children would never touch their guns. They've told them, they've taught them, their children know better, but they're children.
Yeah.
They don't know better. They don't know better when they're 18. These are children. Teenagers get depressed. I mean, taking your ammunition from your gun and locking up your ammunition and your gun separately is the most important message. We have a huge educational component to what we do. In Jacksonville earlier this year, the Moms Demand Action group there worked with the school board, and secure storage information will be going home to, I have the number somewhere, but thousands of families. That will save lives. That will save lives, guaranteed. So I think my message is that Moms Demand Action and Faye Williams, we're not here to say that people don't have the right to own a gun. We're here to say that people don't have the right to own a gun and handle it in an unsafe way, and that not everybody is safe to have a gun. It's not safe for themselves, not safe for other people. And if you're planning to own a gun, if you choose to own a gun, you bear a great responsibility for making sure that gun is not used to cause harm.
There are events that are going to be happening across the country, June 3rd through the 5th. Hashtag Wear Orange. It is National Gun Violence Awareness Weekend. The day is actually June 3rd, but there will be events across Alachua County, across Gainesville, and in Alachua. And I hope that you will find events in your community, even if you don't go to an event. Learn all that you can and share with your sphere of influence. Wear Orange is sadly, it started because of a young lady who was senselessly killed after going to President Obama's inauguration. She went home and her life was ended because of gun violence. Ms. Faye Williams, what do you say to people to encourage them, and why is it significant for them to participate in these events?
Besides seeing you do the poem?
Besides seeing me do the poem, yeah.
Oh, it's so important because Adija Pendleton, that was the young woman's name, Adija Pendleton. We have to honor her. We have to honor all the survivors, as well as the people who went out to another plane. And it keeps us from getting depressed because we see what the system is about. And when you learn your history, you have to always have something forward to make you move forward. And so, like I said, if you're really concerned about the Second Amendment, go and really read about the Second Amendment, because it really didn't apply to us, Black folks. Go and read it. And read some more about the Second Amendment and the Black Panther Party. And see the difference between when white people talk about the Second Amendment and when Black folks talk about the Second Amendment. So when you learn your history, you have to move forward, because otherwise you're going backwards. And we never want to go backwards. We want to go forward. And I tell people all the time, don't give up. We have to take breaks in between. Take 4 days off. Go to the beach. Go to the woods. Go to somebody's house and let it go out, come out of you. But I encourage people to just please take a little bit of time and come to these wonderful events that we've set up over the weekend. Friday at Depot Park, Saturday afternoon over in Alachua, and then Saturday evening over at Porter's Community Center. And I guarantee you, if you only make one event you will leave empowered. The empowered makes your mind and your body and your energy comes back to you. It lets go of the depression. And thank you, Pamela.
Thank you, Ms. Faye Williams. Marnie, with Moms Demand Action, how can people get involved with Moms Demand Action in their communities?
I hate to say anything after what Faye just said, but I will give you that information. If they text READY to 64433, it will get them into the database so that they get informed of events, actions, opportunities to get involved. In Florida, we have a lot of, since we have so many new people joining, there are a couple of statewide virtual information meetings. So if you do this right away, you will get invited to those meetings, either the 1st or the 8th, and learn more about the organization. And there are so many different ways to get involved. There is no way that you can't find something that will suit you. Yes.
Can you put in Mama's Club and maybe put my number or something else there? I don't know how to use the chat on this one. I thought I had learned, but I can't get into it. But y'all give me some help. Give me some help.
So what is that? What do you want me to put in here?
Mama's Club.
Right. And what information?
Mama's Club and then my number.
You got to give me your number. I have it in my
352.
Yep.
226. 2623. I don't care if anybody knows my number because I know how to turn off the phone.
Well, let me, while she's doing that, let me just reiterate the challenge that we're facing in this country. 2021 was the deadliest year on record for gun violence epidemic in the United States. Gun violence increased at the same time the COVID-19 pandemic struck.
Yes.
And these impacts continue to devastate communities and families across the country.
Yes.
Gun violence and this pandemic. And as gun violence has grown, so has this movement. Every year, Wear Orange continues to expand as community partners and gun safety advocates hold events. So I do strongly encourage you to do everything that you can in your power, in your sphere of influence, to be able to impact change in your communities, to say to your legislators, they come back home. They come back home and they hold events. Go to those events and let them know how you feel. Let them know that this is important to you. This is important to your community. And it has to change because this cannot be the new normal in the United States of America, that we have more people who have died from gun violence in the United States of America than all the military conflicts combined. And this is not war. These are people killing fellow Americans. We must demand action. If you want to get in touch with Ms. Faye Williams, there's the number there at the bottom of your screen, 352-226-2623. I thank you all so much for being here this evening, ladies, for sharing, for inspiring, for being vulnerable in how this is impacting you. I thank all of you for watching. I thank you for sharing. I thank you for getting involved, because that's the only way that we're going to save lives in our communities and make sure things are safe for the next generation. Like my little BJ in Mississippi. Good night, BJ. Thank you. Everybody, yes.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Wear Orange, hashtag Wear Orange, June 3rd through the 5th. Everybody, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you on Thursday for the Timbuktu Report. In the meantime, I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Remember, there is healing at the well. Make it a great moment.